My question is, how has your faith grown since you decided in 2015 to run for president? And who has mentored you in your faith journey?
Great question.
It's such a great question.
Isn't it? It's such a great question. A question that you are absolutely not going to answer. A question which you are absolutely going to take in a completely different direction because you have no faith. You are not a religious person. You have no beliefs. The only person you care about is yourself. So carry on.
You know, I've seen so much heartache and turmoil. I was a developer and I did other things, and you know, I had a wonderful life before all this stuff. I didn't know what a grand jury was. I didn't know what a subpoena. What is a subpoena?
I had a great life before this. Who are you, Jimmy Durante? I mean, come on. You didn't know what a grand jury was, didn't know what a subpoena is? Well, you certainly do now. Because, you know, changing the subject from how has your faith defined you to be like, I didn't know what a subpoena was. I mean, who are you? You know, it's almost like you're just a shell of a man now with just catchphrases. And it's such an insult to people that do have religious beliefs to just, you know, throw questions back at them. Don't pretend to be someone you're not.
I had a wonderful life. I'm so glad. They asked me the other day a little different question. Are you glad you did it? You had a great life. Are you glad you did it? I couldn't be more glad. I am so happy I did it because I've made America great. We can do it again. Right now, we are not a great country.
Yet we know you had a great life because you were able to get away with all your criminal activity and nobody looked at you because you were just like a TV celebrity and nobody really cared. But suddenly you become the president of the United States and all of the illegal activity matters. You're suddenly accountable to the people and to the law. And so that's why your life has changed, because suddenly you have to actually think about the consequences of your actions. And to have a great life and then say, oh, I gave all that up to be the president so I could make America great again. It doesn't make sense. Like, it just doesn't make sense. And what did you make great about America, apart from maybe giving people the license to be racist or the license to be xenophobic and not worry that they're going to get into trouble? Or giving police officers license to treat people in a brutal and violent way, as you suggested one time. I mean, we really have to think very carefully about what America was when you say it was great. I remember the National Guard being on the street, protests, Women's March, BLM protests, shops boarded up. That's what I remember during your presidency. COVID-19, killing hundreds of thousands of people, and you suggesting that drinking bleach or shining a light inside the body could kill it, get rid of it. I remember Dr. Anthony Fauci with his head in his hands, thinking this is the wrong time to get a pandemic in an election year when the president cares only for the election and not for the health of millions of people.
Because of this, evangelicals, I mean, I know so many people, and they feel so good about themselves and their family, and they base it on religion. I had never had that kind of an experience where I got to know so many. And Franklin Graham and Paula White. I mean, I know so many people that are so incredible, religious people.
So by getting to know some evangelicals, you suddenly are what? A hero of the religious right? Is that what it is? I mean, they're going to think that you're the second coming because you got to know a few evangelicals and they've told you that they feel great. I mean, none of what you're saying makes sense. It's just a bunch of words that you feel that if you say them with confidence, that people are just going to clap and cheer. And unfortunately, this is a problem with celebrities, you know, and I'm talking about celebrities in Donald Trump, like, you know, Z-list celebrities, is that they feel like they don't have to do any of the work. They can just say a whole bunch of stuff and people will be like, yeah, this is great. Do the work. Know what you're talking about. Make a difference. Have some value.
You know, when I look at the Catholic faith, you take a look at what the FBI, look at what the FBI is doing to Catholics. They've made them like the enemy. They've made them, it's horrible. How could a Catholic ever vote for a Democrat?
The FBI is doing what to Catholics? What are you even talking about? How can you say that people can't vote Democrat because they love the FBI? I mean, you're saying this because the FBI have investigated you. You're not saying this because there's any truth to the story. I mean, it is completely fascinating how this guy can just pick up a bunch of words and run with them and put on a whole show. And people are like, yeah, we saw Trump and he was great. He didn't do anything. He just did a whole bunch of words in the wrong order.
But I've met some of the finest people that I wouldn't have had the privilege of meeting if I weren't president, and they're religious leaders, and they really are incredible people.
So the finest people that you've met are religious leaders, and you wouldn't have had the privilege of meeting them if you hadn't have been the president. Yeah, because you're not a religious person. And for some reason, half the country think you are. Despite the fact that you use really offensive, misogynistic language about women, despite the fact that you have cheated on your wife, despite the fact that you've been convicted of sexual abuse. I mean, come on. None of this kind of makes sense. None of it joins up. And the greatest confidence trick is the fact that Donald Trump has managed to convince evangelical Christians and Christian nationalists and people that use faith as their belief system that he is one of them, when he is the antithesis of somebody who is religious. He really is the Antichrist, the devil incarnate, and yet you are projecting. You want him to be somebody that he is not, and he will never live up to that. And the people that surround him, they do not advocate for religious freedom, which is baked into the Constitution. And yet we have this leader, this kind of de facto Republican leader, a disgusting, lying individual who is about to be up in front of judges and juries yet again for multiple crimes, who you have somehow selected as your evangelical king. And you can love Donald Trump as much as you like. You can put him on a pedestal. You can celebrate him as a messiah character. But I promise you, Donald Trump will never love you back.
I had a wonderful life before all this stuff. I didn't know what a grand jury was.
I'm Anthony Davis. You can hear me every day on the 5-Minute News podcast, on Wednesdays hosting MAGA Uncovered, and on Sundays on The Weekend Show with Midas Touch.